find the equation connecting the variables given. Right, so here we have a graph. We have on the x-axis S and on the y-axis G. So whatever equation we find, first thing to note that it's going to involve S and G, not Y and X. So given that G is on the y-axis and S is on the x-axis, it's going to be G equals something to do with S rather than S equals something to do with G. That's just the standard way to write things. It's about dependent variable and independent variable. Right, so basically what information do we have about the graph? So you can see these two numbers 3 and 4, so they are axis intercepts. This is telling you this point here is the point 0, 3. So the graph passes through the point 0, 3, which if ever you know the y coordinate when x is 0, that is your value of c. Remember, this general equation, gradient intercept form, is y equals mx plus c. The m is the gradient, and the c is the y-intercept. So I have just told you that it's going to be g equals something to do with s, so we're not going to have y equals mx plus c. You should absolutely think in the same way, but what we are going to have is g, because that's on the y-axis, equals ms plus c. You can keep the m and the c because we haven't been given letters that are m and c, so that's fine. So as we know that this passes through 0, 3, you already know that c is 3. So c equals 3. So we know that this is g equals ms plus 3. Right, so now we need to find the m. Right, and looking at that, well, you've got two choices. You can either use your two known points, and you could use your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or because it's quite a nice triangle, and because we kind of got zeros, it's probably easier to just draw a couple of lines. So if I start on the left, and if you're drawing lines, you always should start on the left, and take your x step to the right. If you start on the left, your x step's always going to be right. Remember, if you're doing this, always take your x step first, and always make sure your x step is positive, which means to the right, which means start on the left. So I start here, and I take my x step, and I stop when I am in line with this point. So it needs to be horizontal, in line with that 4, and I stop. And then you take your y step, which is going to go straight down, okay, to that point. Right, so now we decide what these were. So this, remember, was 0. It's on the axis, and it goes to 4. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's write that down. The x step is 4, and remember, x step is always positive. For the y step, well, I started up here and I go down, so I know it's negative, and it goes from 3 to 0, so it must be going down 3. So the y step is minus 3. Okay, so for m, we know that m equals y step over x step equals, and the x step always positive, in this case it is 4. The y step is negative if you go down. We do go down, it is minus 3. Right, so now we have m and we have c, so now we can just write in g equals ms plus c. So the equation is g equals m minus 3 over 4 s plus c. C is 3, so plus 3, and that's it. It's no different to if you had x's and y's, but you do need to recognize that you don't have x's and y's.